Okay, hi everybody, it's Dungeon Dummy. I am volunteering for an online convention called OnCon. That's ONCCCON, as in convention created content. The website is onccccon.com. So I was kindly given some adventures that were created exclusively for this convention. I will bring them up here. This is the Tree Rot, the first title, the Gifts of Corruption trilogy. That is what I'll be practicing my my work on today, just kind of showing you all what you can make in Roll20 very quickly, even if you're not a very good dungeon master or very competent in Roll20. So I'm just going to begin by showing you all how I prep for an adventure. So the first thing I do when I'm in Roll20 is I go into the settings. So I'll go into the settings here. And once I'm in the settings, I'll make sure my display name is how I want it to be. Maybe I want it to be Dungeon Master. Maybe I want it to be Count Strahd von Zarovich or Acererak. But once I have that set, I will customize a few other controls, maybe my avatar size. Most important to me is going to be this here, chat tech. You can use Roll20's built-in chat tech. We use Discord, me and my team do. And if you've ever watched my channel before, which I almost guarantee you haven't, you'll know that we don't use video except for me. So I'm going to turn chat tech off. That will basically create a lighter experience for all users, particularly those people with low-end systems. And for those people that do wish to, have video, you'll have to work that out with your DMs. Discord does have video chat available through personal rooms and basically PMs in groups. So once I have that done, it's going to reload the game. And then what I might do is just make sure all the settings are correct. So I'm actually going to exit the game. I'm going to go into the main page for the game, and I will look at the settings. Now I know that I just updated this, so I've got a little description. I took just a low-res cap of some of the PDF's artwork, and then I'm going to go into game settings right here. And I just want to make sure that allow players to import their own characters is enabled. And I have a background image enabled. That comes with plus or above in Roll20. And I can check and see if I have compendium access. I don't have that defaulted because you only get 5 slots. And it looks like I'm sharing with a couple players in another game already. I will probably fix that. The only other things that I look at, sometimes I'll enable auto roll damage and crit. I actually didn't have that enabled, so I'm glad I came back and checked. And I guess at this point for whisper rolls, never whisper rolls should be automatically enabled. If you do have a pro subscription, ammo tracking can be useful if players know how to use it. It doesn't really harm to turn it on. Some of them really like that. So other than that, everything here looks great. I can automatically update the bar layout for health. That's a little bit more advanced, and we don't have to get into that unless it becomes really obnoxious to create our NPCs. So I'm going to go ahead and save the changes I have here. Again, those things are just what you want to look out for. Make sure you've got the vault turned on, and probably auto roll damage and crit. Okay? Everything else can stay the way it is. Now I'm going to go ahead and get back into the game. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at what kinds of environments we're going to be fighting in. and what kinds of enemies we have. So I'm gonna pull the PDF back up for you, and we're gonna skip all the way down to the end. Looks like I've got some documents I'll need to turn into handouts. I will do that in just a moment. I have not read this adventure yet, so you don't have to read the adventure as long as there is a good summary of the adventure, maybe even some sample maps. Now we could use these sample maps, but they're already gridded, so what we might do is take a look at forest assets that are out there, maybe full color. Whenever possible, I like to use assets that have been approved for commercial use, public domain, or Creative Commons license. Sometimes I'll just search through the Roll20 library. So if I'm just gonna move this out of the way again. So over here on the right side, we have the journal. I am just gonna search for forest. Some of my forest maps may come up. There's a mushroom forest. It's not exactly what I'm looking for. There's more of a scenery forest. Let's see what else we've got here. Some of these look pretty good, and not only that, but I bet you we're gonna find some good trees. I saw there was an awakened tree. So I'm just kind of looking through these. It's probably pretty small on your end, but you're not missing out on anything. And I might just go with what I had at the top. My only concern is I want to make sure that the players don't go beyond the bounds of the map when we're playing. So I do see something here. Let's take a look at this one. Now first, I dropped that onto the token layer. When this is, whatever layer is shown here on the left side is going to be the layer of the map we're on. So this is objects and tokens. I'm going to stay here, right click my tile, switch it to map layer, and then I also have to go to the map layer here in order to now grab that. Otherwise it wouldn't let me touch it. So I'm grabbing it. I'm just going to throw it up into the upper left corner up here. There are probably fancier ways of doing this, I guarantee it, but you're looking for a Dungeon Dummy tutorial for people who don't necessarily know what they're doing. Now, there is an awakened tree in this game, so what we're going to do is we're going to see, now this map has a grid on already, so we might work with this. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to try to flip it. So I'm going to flip it vertical. Actually, let's flip it one more time. There we go. Let's take a look at our PDF again and see how close we are if I can get this to look like an awakened tree. So here's our PDF. Okay. Let's see. That looks pretty good. I mean, I'll zoom in a little bit for all of our sakes. Oh, that's a little much zoom. Here's our zoom control in the upper right, by the way. So it actually looks pretty good. Again, it's pre-gridded, so we see these brown lines underneath. There are ways to get around that. Typically what I do is I will go into the tile, so page settings up here, so the page toolbar is what it's called, and then you're going to go into page settings, and finally you're going to just change the dimensions a little bit. So we're not going to double it. This wasn't a huge map. We'll just add a little bit of space to work with. So I'm changing it from 25 by 25 to 35 by 35. So that is going to be just grid units, whatever our grid unit is set at. If it gets really bad, I can change the opacity of the grid, or I could remove the grid altogether if I do a good enough job, but it makes it difficult for players to track their movements, so I'm going to leave that on for now. Now, if we can just give ourselves a little bit more space here, so we've got tons of room to work with. Let's see, so we're going to need to actually, that was my bad. This map is actually smaller than what we need. So right there, I don't know if you see that, but it's actually aligned right there. So we'll go ahead and we'll hold the Alt key down. Alt key will lock its position. And now we have a grid that matches that. So one more time, let's take a look at roughly how many squares we have. I'm not gonna make an exact map. So we've got, it comes up, it's got a little bit different of a curve to it. And it's gonna go to this awakened tree. We're looking at 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Man, I wish those PDFs had the ruler like Roll20 does, because on Roll20, all I have to do is grab the ruler right here, and that looks about right. It's about 10 feet longer, and again, the curve is slightly different. Let's take a look at trees, see what we can do. I mean, this is gonna be a huge awakened tree if I'm gonna cover up that ruined fortress. So we might scrap it. Heck, I might even start the recording over again if this doesn't work out for me, because I do not like to be that embarrassed, although I do embarrass myself quite a bit. So I'm gonna need to find a big tree. It could be top down, and that way, it's gonna match kind of the tower, and I think I might go with that. So that one's kind of cartoony. I need something though that is going to cover a lot, and I like that it does not have a background. So let's see what we can do here with this massive tree we're going to build. How pixely does that look to you? Now, you can't really tell that there's a fortress under there anymore, and I'm kind of leaving some of the base because it almost looks like shadowing. So I'm gonna leave that right there. And I mean, hey, there's our first map. We're just gonna have to take a look at what NPCs are located on that map. And if you have compendium access to the monster manual, you're gonna be in good shape. This is a 2-hour adventure, so it looks like that's the only actual battle map we've got. I'm seeing a lot of NPCs. I'm guessing there's 2 fights, so we're gonna need to build a second map and maybe a title screen, as well as get the handouts all good to go. So, let's see here. This encounter is, we've got an awakened tree, we've got, I see there's a dryad, and 1 vine blight. So I don't exactly know the positions of them, but right now we're just staging this. So I'm going back into what I'm doing here is from this panel up here, I am going into the compendium. That is the black circle with the eye in the middle, going into monsters, and I could just run a search of the compendium. Right now I'm pulling up the list because I know I'm gonna need an awakened tree, which is not going to be gigantic. What we'll do is we'll layer the awakened tree over that square. It will be a large-sized creature, I believe. I'm gonna hold shift. Oh, we need to change that to a token layer. So back to the token layer. Okay. That should be pretty clear based on what I mentioned before. So it automatically went into a player character sheet. I need to make sure that it is giving us the regular monster one here. Change it to an NPC and see if it gives us our attributes. It is not. It's very uncommon. Let's try this one more time, and then we're gonna mess with our settings a little bit. Just make sure that everything works. If we're lucky, we shouldn't have players building characters in this game. They should be bringing them in from their own games. So again, it looks like I've got a blank here. So we're gonna do a little bit of troubleshooting. I'm gonna go ahead and delete these trees. We're gonna go into the settings. We're going to exit the game and get out of here. Gonna go to settings. Going to go to game settings. And we're gonna go to default sheet settings. New characters default to the NPC card sheet. My compendium should still be moving creatures in, so, and that's for pages. So I think we're gonna just have to go with faith that those awakened trees will work. I'm going back into the game and I'm gonna launch. We're gonna delete that awakened tree out of the journal and we're gonna fire in a new one. So right now, if I go back to my journal, which is that newspaper looking icon, I have an awakened tree there. I'm deleting this item and I'm gonna go to monsters. Let this load. And my awakened tree. Character sheet. Okay, good. The character sheet is there. So there may have just been an error. And look, so when they come in, they're gonna see this massive tree. It is going to be very big, but not quite as big as it appears on the map. So we're gonna leave this here. And what we're gonna do, and once I get it kind of centered where I want it to be so that it is reasonable they'd be hitting it, I'm going to change this to the GM layer so they'll just see the tree. And then when I'm ready, I switch to the GM layer on Roll20 up in the upper left corner, and I'm going to right click it, bring it back to the token layer, and vice versa. Now there are some shortcuts for this out there. Again, this is not the smart Roll20 players tutorial. This is the Dungeon Dummy tutorial. So next, I'm just going to quickly remind myself without loading it up on your end. Can't give you too many views of that copywritten material. And we've got a Dryad and we've got a Vine Blight. So let's see here. Dryad is going to be here. We don't know where she's standing. I'm going to move her around when I need her. Now, if I wanted to, what I could have done is I could have, instead of doing what I'm doing now, which is throwing her into the GM layer, which, you know, this might be an area where that character, I'm assuming, gets some sort of evil monologue and then is like, "Tree, come get them." But I'm going to put her in the GM layer just in case until I'm done reading the PDF. But I could switch the layer itself to the GM overlay, and then if I do that, when I'm in the compendium, when I go find my Vine Blight, I drag that out, and I'm going to assume it's starting by the tree and not hiding somewhere. I think since this is a tier 1, it's probably not going to ambush the characters. So it is right here. I'm just going to maybe give it some space to come around from behind, kind of, you know, maybe surprise someone. And again, once I read the PDF and understand the author's intentions, we'll figure out how combat's supposed to lay out. Speaking of the PDF, let's take a look at what other fights we have and figure out what type of environment we're going to be working with. So, part 3 gives us our map to go to. Part 2, we'll be seeing if there's bold text. We have some undead Aarakocra, which Aarakocra, if I'm honest with you, since I don't own Volos, might not be in the monster manual. Wizards! Alright, so I am going to have to build out an Aarakocra from the content in the sheet, which I think will be a good experience for all of us. Just make sure you don't judge. Alright, what we're going to do here is we're going to just take a look at this battle, take a look at where it takes place. So, you've spent a few days traveling along Torrent's March from Flan. Your destination is the Wood Elf village of De Arathan, deep in the quivering forest. The trip has proven uneventful. Today the air grows heavy. plants and trees seem darker than they did a day ago. Something is not right. So this is a forest road. So we'll find ourselves a forest road. Now, if I recall, I actually had one when we did our search before. So we're gonna need to do a couple things. I've got my art prepped. Let me move the PDF out of the way and show you what I'm up to. So I've pulled up my, my images tab, my art library tab, I should say. And then I'm gonna go to the page toolbar up here in the upper right corner, that blue page. Why don't I just edit this to say part 3, tree. There. We're gonna create a new page. I'll need one for part 2, one for part 1 if there's an area I want them to have some exposition for the adventure, and then a title slide. So we'll say title slide and part 1 exposition. And then we got, well, part 2, dead birds. Excellent. Okay. So we're gonna need to get our map, find our dead birds, and probably, since I think you are being driven by a cart, I'll check, I don't need to bring that up for you. You are, yeah, so you're either walking along a wagon. There's gonna be a gnome and a wagon. So we're gonna need that as well, just for a little bit of scenery. So I have this darkened forest, which is in the wrong tile. Let me switch that. Map layer. You also in map layer, so I can control you. And right now we're on the default size, which is 25 by 25. When possible, you want to keep it at that size because it is going to be a lot more manageable for your players that are using a variety of different systems to use. So right here, what I'm imagining is this darkened forest. This will be our road. Never use brown as your pointer color. I use yellow from a little scarecrow. So this will be our darkened road. Maybe there's a log in the way, and then you stop to clear the log out of the way, and our undead Aarakocra attack. So let's see. Aarakocra scouts who have been infected by corruption. There will be 4 Aarakocra that fall from the sky. Excellent. So they fall from the sky, lying dead for a little while, and there will be a fight that breaks out. Good. Now, if anybody who's involved in the production or playtest of this game is watching, again, I have not read a single bit of this before I started this video. This is my process, because if I'm gonna jump into a game, I wanna make sure that I read the adventure last before prep starts. I can always modify little things in the prep to match the adventure, but I want to go in as fresh as possible with the content in my head because I forget it. So I've just kind of reviewed what I'm going to need. I'm going to need some Aarakocra. Let's find some Aarakocra artwork. So what do I have? We're going to just go Aarakocra. Beautiful. And anybody who is looking at my Firefox Google history can suck an egg. So we're just gonna need some generic Aarakocra. I mean, I really like this Kenku looking one right here, this monk. That's nice, but maybe even more generic, like this. This is generic enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this image. Credit to the author. This, let's just take a look at where this comes from just so that we can make sure our source is somebody that is, okay, dndguide.com. Let's see if there's any copyright warning at the bottom. No, we don't know where their source comes from either. And if you're ever, you know, worried, you could always use like the D&D Beyond image. We can go with that. Ooh, background free? Are you kidding me? Yeah. All right. Background free, Aarakocra. Let's make a little folder for this, why don't we? Actually, yeah, I got nothing to hide from all of you. You can't see those layers of my computer anyway. Hooray! Okay, so once we get our image, we're gonna need to play with it. I'm gonna go to Token Stamp. Token Stamp 2 is a delightful website. You can find it at rolladvantage.com/tokenstamp. I will put that in the notes for the video. Tweet it at rolladvantage. I'm sure they make a lot of great tools. You can also change a lot about the token here, the scale, etc. We're gonna make our border tint a non-threatening green color, somewhat mysterious. Our background will be kind of a slightly highlighted brown. I'm going to grab my Aarakocra. So you at home just use your imagination. Spencer's trying to remember where he put this file, and he will find it eventually. There it is. Beautiful. And then we've got our image here. Now we need to make it look like a token, which means we're going to need a ring. We don't need border tint, we need a ring. So let's use these fancy metal ones. Your players will hate you for it because they all want to use those fancy metal ones, but we're going to do it. And we've got a nice centered Aarakocra token, no fuss, no muss. That looks fine. I'm just gonna go ahead. Again, I put too much work into it most times. Having the camera going is actually really helping out. Should do this every time. So I'm gonna download this token and we'll just name it Herb. And I'm gonna throw it. You can't see this part, I'm just talking to myself right now. Got some artwork dump area. Beautiful. Okay, now for the hard part. So, what we're gonna do is we're back on our map layer. We're going to create a new character. And this new character will be called Dead Birds. Excellent. We're gonna throw our token on just to get that out of the way. Go. So token, where it says choose a file. I've chosen a file. We'll have to modify the token a little bit. Just having this here will drag out the artwork. We're going to need to actually do it a little bit more. We don't want that visible to any players, so we're going to save the changes. We're going to, look, I defaulted it to NPC sheets. Lovely. So we're going to move this around a little bit. Let's take a look what we got here. I guess what we'll do is we'll start throwing in those Aarakocra attributes. So this is where it's going to get a little wild. I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to throw my PDF up for you all so you can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to need to actually make it so that this preview for you is a little bit more legible. You might still not be able to see anything, but that's okay, because I can't change the size of this text right here. Or can I? I forget. Is that an internal search? Oh, it's a zoom. I knew that. Look, you learn new things about Roll20 all the time. So, zoomed in a little bit for you. Hopefully that's legible. And here we go. So, first off, I'm going to go into... I am literally going to copy and paste everything out of the PDF. So, we go to the enemies section... Aarakocra. So what I'm doing is I am just seriously going through line by line, and oh, that's not it. So one fun fact about working on PCs every day and then switching over to Macs to do your gaming is it's miserable. I would not suggest it. Okay, so just copy and pasting out of the PDF, just like God intended. What's your armor class made out of? I don't know. Wishes? Cool. So little by little it comes together. So while I'm doing this, just to prevent you from getting bored, if you have questions about Roll20, there are people out there that do great jobs making videos. It's just when I learned, I didn't, they were doing much more advanced stuff. They were teaching dynamic lighting. They were teaching, how to use some of the more advanced combat tools. Right now, we just need to get you in there with a map so you can learn to play as you go. Your players can shout at you and tell you, how to do everything in mid-game. So right now, for these rows right here, I am hitting the tab key and I am just punching in the numbers because copy-pasting here would be no more efficient. No saves, perception is going to be 5. And then we'll probably get back to copy pasting here. Yes, we will, because we've got some immunities. Now it's interesting because they said medium humanoid, neutral good. So they left that alone. I think they forgot to put undead in there. Again, anyone involved in the creation of this, I really appreciate you letting me use this. I'm actually the ignorant one, so that might be the way it's supposed to be. I should keep my mouth shut. Okay, almost done. Just gotta get these senses in here. That's the beautiful thing about having to create these things in for a tier 1 game, is it's a lot easier. No spell casting, but we are gonna have a few different types of attacks, so thanks for that. All right, I can collapse this by hitting the gear and then go to, let's see. So they do have a special action here, and this is going to be called dive attack. And I'm typing that in separately because it's just not easy to copy and paste. I have a very popular spell checking add-on for my browser, which I regret when I'm making these things. It definitely goes bonkers. We're going to now be adding in their actions. Man, it looks like it's taken me to Funky Town. Okay, so again, just copy and pasting in. I know this is riveting, but I'm sure it's helpful for you to see every step. So same principle. They have talent. Oops. They have a talent attack. They have it's melee. It's 5 foot. No one cares if you type that in, actually, but, it's good to be a completionist. +4, it's going to be 1 target. It's going to be, I'm not even copy and pasting, because why? 1d4, that's 2. They're not going to be using that, unless they're doing their dive attacks. Just saying. Okay. And we really should be making a separate attack for the dive attack. So let's see, the dive attack does an extra 1d6. There we go. Slash. Okay. And we have to make more attacks. Talon is done. So that second d6 damage, you will basically point out that it only applies if it meets the prerequisites for the dive attack. Otherwise, it's going to be the first damage block. Here, I'll show you. Let's make some room for you to see. Get out of the way. All right, so talent attack. I clicked it, and what do you see? Nothing, because our chat is busted. I see. What a strange... there we go. Delightful. So we can see here that we have a secondary damage. That's going to be our plus. That attack certainly would have missed. I mean, unless you're a wizard that has got a death wish. So there we go. We've got our attack. We've got to make one more, and we'll get back to... Well, we got to slot out a token, and I'll show you how that's done. Actually, then we're pretty much done. We're gonna have to figure out what our map for the exposition corner is gonna be, where they talk about what the mission is and why it's dangerous and all that stuff. love adventure tropes. Alright, so this is a ranged weapon. We're gonna have 30 by 120. If they're using these like spears, they're not gonna do so great, so we're not even gonna worry about that. I'll just figure that out on the fly if they ever make a bad choice, if they ever survive long enough. Do these things have undead fortitude? I'll have to check on the PDF page. If so, I could add that in. Alright, they're not gonna get dive attack, so it's just gonna be 1d6 plus 2 piercing, and then I don't need to put anything else in there as far as I can tell. Done. Alright, let's check on this undead fortitude now, because I'm interested. So you all don't know what it's like to have to do all this and then control OBS. It's quite fun. Alright. There we go. So we've got our PDF back up. We're going to look at... Oh, right. We actually have to go to where this fight is taking place. Excuse me. Oh, yes. The infamous pages and pages of prep material. Oh my gosh. There's so many things I have to put in here still. There's a satyr. Okay. Back in... So this is literally part 1. I'll have to rename this. Good to know. Okay, so our Akokra Scouts, they do have undead fortitude. So I'm gonna be lazy and I'm gonna just, we'll see if, I don't think that this PDF preview is gonna do that. Oh no. Alright. Huh. Oh, how fun. Oh, I could have probably gotten that from the Roll20 compendium, which is right here. We've just accessed it outside of Roll20. You can search the whole compendium. And they should have it right here. Beautiful. Oh, beautiful. Okay. Got our last trait, dive attack, and undead fortitude. And yeah, sure. I mean, again, if any game designer is watching, just saying, no, we've left this trait in here. It's still at CR 1/4. Okay, it's fine. Oh no, what is it doing? So again, this will not happen to you. This will only happen to me using, let's maybe disable this. No, that's too difficult. Instead, we're going to just kind of mess with it a little bit. That's not working either. Oh. Okay. We did it. We've made the birds. We're going to drag some birds out. And we'll examine part 2. Alright, so first, before we get too excited, I'm getting into the... Oof. It's on the map layer right now, putting it into the token layer. Dungeon Dummy skills. Here we are. Token layer. We're going to just quickly make some modifications. So what does this represent? Okay, good. It's tied in there. Excellent. So we're going to just mess with our bars a little bit. I personally don't care about which bar is which, but some people really do. If you have a problem with what color is what, just fight me. All right, so we've got AC locked in, 13. So when these tokens are dropped in, they will pre-populate with these numbers. We can be like, you got a -1 on health now, and that's the way it works. So we're going to put this back to normal, open up our Deadbird character sheet. We're going to edit the Deadbird character sheet. Oh my gosh, my PDF's been in the way this whole time. Just, here, use your imagination, but when you double click a token, you're going to receive some information regarding what bar is linked to what stat. You can change them here. HP and AC are the big ones, and like I said, colors are a thing that some people care about. Showing the nameplate is your decision. It depends on whether it's just a key NPC or a little mob. And then for advanced, you can choose, again, really if they see the name versus whether you see the name. I think I'd like to see the name, so I'm gonna keep that as is. No auras or anything else. Finally, we're gonna edit this. Sorry again, I'm not gonna re-record any of that because that's a hassle, so I'm just gonna look like a jerk. Using the token, we've saved that in there, so that is going to be our statted out token, not just the artwork, but the statted token. And here we go. Look at that beautiful health and AC, all ready to go. Let's make 4 of them, probably. One thing you also are going to want to do is I'm only looking at the average combat difficulty. So for these adjustments, some of these are going to be like, you know, instead of a awakened tree, it's going to be an awakened shrub, etc. So it does look like, just kind of scanning through this, there's only an optional combat. I really hope it doesn't turn into a combat for most of the types of players out there, but we'll see. So, all right, we've got some modification to do. I am going to go into this, and we're gonna say part 1. Move it over here. Part 2. Here it is. And without pulling up the PDF again, because that's a curse, we're going to just figure out where you're supposed to be. Probably a forest. Let's see. You are in a field of flowers. Adventurers search the quivering forest for the daffodil flower. Okay, so we're going to find, okay. We'll see if we can find something flowery. What we'll probably do is just, I gotta get to my blank tile. And there it is. This is going to be in the map layer. This is also it looks like it's designed to be a landscape view, so we'll keep that in mind when we're modifying it and probably change the, yeah, that's gonna be a beefy area. So this looks actually really great to me for a map. It is a very different texture than what we've been using, and that can throw some players off, but don't listen to them. You know, you're in charge. We're gonna do, okay. We're gonna do width 30, height 20. What do we got here? Yeah, something went haywire. Something is wrong. But how wrong? Okay, just doing some resizing here for your viewing pleasure. Excellent. And I'm dragging this out. Oh, look at that. Look at that excellent detail. Still a little bit warped, but that's good enough. And then we're just gonna bring out a satyr. Again, I'm not using the search feature. We're just gonna zoom right through, Dungeon Dummy style, not understanding how things work and how to be efficient. You wanted to watch a video on how to make your life easier. No, I'm just showing you how to be a stubborn person and stay that way. All right, and here's our satyr. We're gonna maybe grab some more artwork, and we're going to look for flowers. And we're gonna find these beautiful yellow flowers that are gonna be just all right here, I'm just gonna, copy. So Control C, Command C, whatever you're using. My mouse just ran out of battery during this recording, so fun. Give me just one sec. So while I'm doing that, let me vamp a little bit more. So in Roll20, I really don't go for perfection. I don't think a lot of DMs do. I think you're gonna have a lot of players that prefer theater of the mind anyway, and for the players that don't, you're looking for more of a way to get an idea of how their abilities are going to function outside of this. We're going to have a little bit of audio interruption while I try to get my mouse reconnected here. There we go. Excellent. Sorry for that. Okay, my mouse is reconnected. This recording has been wrought with difficulty, so thanks for bearing with me. Anyway, so again, yeah, this is just as a visual guide. I mean, these flowers, we could find different colored ones. In fact, I think I've got some, let's see what those look like. Do those look like anything? Oh, they are not transparent background, so we're not gonna use those. That's evil. But we do have some mixed color flowers we can use. So let's, what layer are you on? Oh. Okay. I'm sorry, we're gonna get nitpicky right now after all this hand waving I've just done. So here are our flowers. We don't have to actually have them aligned in a grid perfectly. In fact, it looks even hokier if you do that. So here are our special flowers. Okay, and with all I happen to know about this game, we have, I'm moving this back to the token layer. We have completed the beginning part of our game prep. Next, we could look at music. We could look at making a title slide here. That's very simple. All we have to do is go to the PDF. And if you're just really lazy, you take that, that cover art and you export it into an image file. You bring it right in to the game, just like this. I'm still in the image library. I'm going to choose my library, upload, choose file, and there we go. It's coming right in. Again, I'm covering up your screen with this PDF, but trust me, it's happening. There it is. Beautiful cover art, letting the characters know what they'll be playing. And I believe this is one of those covers that has the full adventure code on it. It does. It does indeed. They love that. Oh my. Sometimes for Adventurers League, you'll make special rules. Like when they enter into the room, you'll make one that has rules about non-harassment. You'll also maybe have one that shows factions, and the players will pull their tokens out onto like an image that shows their faction so that you know that ahead of time. Sometimes you'll have a text document, or not a text document, but you'll throw some text in here with the drawing option, and you might say like, with my big white text block, be like, change your name. Oh gosh. Change your name to your character name in the, oh, that's way too big. The game settings. You know what? That's fine. I don't even care. This is exactly what we need. And that way, you know what to call people and why. You could tell them to put in their passive perception and AC, but that's just not what I do. So, beautiful. Well, that is everything I have for you. I hope that it was illuminating. Please feel free to ridicule me publicly at Dungeon Dummy on Twitter. It is twitch.tv/Dungeon Dummy to watch more of this content. And you can always find me on Discord. The Discord is Dungeon Dummy. You'll find it on the Twitch channel and in links that I will hopefully remember to put in this video. Have a good one.